Rewind 2021. There was a parade in my city. Number one pick, dancing in the street. Everybody was hitting the gritty. Kate arrived in the D, and it was live as can be. They can ball, but we didn't want Green, Mobley, or Scotty B.
No shade.
When he got hurt, everyone lost it. Storylines leaking, no faucet. Caught him washed when he broke his tibia. All the haters, time to get it really, Everybody wanna be Skip Bayless. Wanna throw shade, okay, say less. Dudes went number one for a reason. It'll click by the end of the season. When he wins most improved player. Gonna be a movie, here's the trailer. Don't say I didn't try to warn ya. Co-signed by Wembanyama.
Kid Cunningham.
He was raised in Texas, but now he's Detroit flexing. Team USA, he was killing them. Got him effed up, let me quote Eminem. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. That's a bunch of gibberish and money lovers act like they forgot about K. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. That's a bunch of gibberish and money lovers act like they forgot about K.
Forgot about K. They forgot about K. Forgot about. How you forget about K?
What up, though, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. I got a special guest here, man. Somebody who might be a familiar face to you guys. We have the one and only. I am Vincent, ClutchPoints beat writer. Mr. Everything is what I call him. Do everything out here, doing it all. How you feeling, bro?
I can't sing though, man. You missed everything. We won't talk sports. I can't do what you just did. I'm happy though, man. I'm chilling. I'm good to be here, man. How about yourself?
Man, I'm a musician masquerading as a Pistons fan. Don't do it. I'm good, man. Everything is good, bro. Just ready to talk some Pistons basketball. It's been very, very interesting start to the season. I think pleasantly surprising for most as a whole, as far as the record at least is concerned. But yeah, we're gonna get to that for sure. But yeah, man, just wanted to welcome you to the show. And everybody in the comments, I see y'all, man. Y'all are popping up early. What's going on, James? Shift Guy, what's going on, bro? Appreciate y'all showing up and showing out. So yeah, let's talk some Pistons basketball, man. Let's start with the first 10 games of the season. I kind of just want to ask you, bro, like we talked about it, right? It's been very interesting. What have your thoughts been? Have you been surprised, kind of what you expected? And also with that, we know you've been up close in the press room with these guys. So just kind of give us a little bit of detail as far as what you've had regarding conversations with them.
Yeah, man. Coming into the season, there was a lot of talk where everybody was kind of regurgitating how everything feels different. You know, there's a new energy in the room. You know, it's a different spirit within the team. And I think we're seeing that already in these first 10 games. They're not perfect. They're not, playing their absolute best basketball, but they're taking steps and we're getting some questions answered. And that was something that we were at least hoping to see last season. Things kind of obviously got off to the rails quickly. I mean, people you talking about how they didn't have their fourth win till like what was it, December or something like that? Yeah. Like it's unbelievable
January,
how long it took. January, yeah. The fact that they had to go to the no win November and just these stretches of this kind of pain was just unsufferable. But see where they are now and seeing what they've already started. And again, there was a lot of optimism just coming into the preseason. Seeing what we've seen thus far now against tough competition, against injured competition, against developing competition. The Pistons have played all three levels of different teams thus far. And we're seeing a lot of things that people should be pretty excited about. I mean, again, knowing that we didn't really get to see a lot of the young guys take that proper step together, I think we're seeing it now. One of the biggest answers and one of the biggest things that we should be focusing on and excited about, I think we finally have an answer that Cade and Jaden Ivey can play together. I think they have been the engine to everything that's gone right so far. And again, it's not just like, okay, Cade is doing this and Ivy, we're still wanted. They're both thriving together. Mm-hmm. They're thriving together and they're finally learning how to win together as well. Again, it's the biggest takeaway I've seen thus far is that a lot of the hype that was coming into the season is being verified right now. It wasn't just talk. These guys seem motivated. JB Bickerstaff has been a fantastic coach. A lot of that preseason hype is carrying over right now, and I think it's about to pick up even more looking at their schedule and how things have been moving forward with the team.
Yeah, no, I agree, bro. You talked about how things are just different as far as the team, just the energy. That's probably one of the biggest things I've noticed because we all knew coming in there was going to be a ton of mistakes, right? A lot of growing pains just because there's so many new faces and a lot of those faces are young faces. So we knew the inconsistency was going to be there. But one thing that we really can't say is that the effort hasn't been there,
right?
Compared to last season. If you want to gauge, right?
For sure,
it's just totally different. I mean, that's because JB is just demanding that, and I think that's kind of the biggest difference because guys have bought into that. He always talked about turning Cade into a two-way player, which is happening. But you look at Jaden Ivey, which you're going to get into later, and his ability there. So just like you mentioned, just reinforcing that point about how things are just different from a vibe standpoint because you've been around these guys. So it's good to hear that, somebody up close is seeing that. And it just gives me even more confidence that they're really going to have a really good season compared to years past.
Yeah, they're taking the steps that you would hope from a young team. And again, if anybody was hoping that they would be 10-0 like Cleveland, or if they would be, above 500, whatever that expectation was, you shouldn't be upset about where they are now because of what you're saying. They, outside of one New York Knicks blowout loss, which happens in the league, these are, again, new players, even good teams are getting blown out. We're seeing it on a day-to-day basis now. Even knowing that, these guys are doing the things that you would want to see from a young team. Mm-hmm. Even if they don't finish right in the closing minutes of the fourth quarter, they're doing things they didn't do last season. They're shaping the identity that JB Bickerstaff has talked about wanting to bring. Mm-hmm. And obviously, like we keep talking about, the focal point of that development has been the two most important players on this team. And one is looking as good as we saw him last year, and the other looks like a completely different player. Cade, we knew had this side of him. Mm-hmm. Ivy looks like he can be a star quicker than we thought. So to have those two things stamped, to see that they play well or play like inspired for JB Bickerstaff, and you're seeing the veteran presence helping as well in terms of communication on the floor. You see Beasley talking to the young guys on the bench. That impact is apparent and visible every day, man. And people should be looking at that more so than what the record is right now, because you didn't see any of that last season. And I think that is what's carrying them to where they are right now.
100%. No, you're right. You're right about that. It's interesting, man, because it seems like whenever these guys were not playing the best between, Jaden and Cade, whenever they had, downs, it seemed like there were a lot more people who would jump on Jaden as opposed to Cade in regards to, can they really play in this league?
Right.
And it's interesting because it seems like most fans, the majority of fans, will say that they've always known Cade was a really good player, even though the team was bad. It's being highlighted now, even more so, but most fans will say that that's how they felt, right? I felt like there were many more fans who felt that way about Cade than they did about Jaden. And for me, I've always been able to see that. What we're seeing now is what I've always been able to see. Just his raw ability. Just the things he can just naturally do that you can't teach, right? His foot speed, man, laterally. I was watching him guard Trae Young last night, and I'm like, wait a minute. And he's, Trae stroked because he's so big, but he still has the foot speed to stay in front more times than not, right? So it's just I'm really happy to see that both of these guys now, their talents are being maximized. It's not like, free Cade or free, let's like, no, okay, the Pistons are coming. You know what I mean? So I just love that the narrative is starting to change and they finally have a good situation.
He's doing great playing off ball too. Like the swat he had on Capella when he was trying to go up for that layup. You see him using, like, to me, they're not the same player, but I remember Allen Iverson used to get a lot of criticism for being a bad defender because he was small. But what he did so well was playing passing lanes, using his speed, using his quick hands. And Jaden Ivey's doing that right now too. So no, he's not going to lock down every single defender or every single opposition he goes up against. But if he's able to play passing lanes like he did against the Sixers super well, which was able to get him a windmill dunk in open space, or if he's able to, just basically just deflect passes and play as a disruptive force with his speed and athleticism, that's just as effective as well. So again, it's that buy-in effort that we're seeing at an early start too. And just to shoot, I don't want to say shoot bail, but considering the season and the schedule that the Pistons had last season compared to this season, it's a night and day difference. But I do like that JB is not letting that be an excuse. Like, I don't care who we're playing against. He has the same approach on every game, and it seems like the guys are buying into it. They're taking the approach of every game as serious as they can, no matter who they're playing against. And that's just that's another growth in the step of professionalism. We're seeing it right in front of us.
I agree, man. One more thing on Jaden I wanted to get to is just what I've noticed. is that this year he's getting hype about defensive plays the way he's ever been hype about offensive plays. We always see him, with the throw down dunk and he growls, right? But now we're seeing him turn guys over, and you know what I mean. We're seeing him, get excited about 24-second shot clock violations. You know what I mean? So it's just they've all bought in defensively. They all understand that's where it starts, and that's why I'm so excited about this season. Getting back to Cade, man. A lot has been made about Cade lately with his turnovers and different things, right? But I think I may have lost Eric, but I'll just keep talking to y'all. A lot has been made about his turnovers and things like that. But you look at the high usage guys in the league, and they have high turnover games. The Luka Doncic's, all those guys have, high turnover rates. Maybe not 7 a game, but Cade hasn't had 7 a game, but they have high turnover rates because they have high usage. It just happens. But I think he's beginning to understand more and more and more how to run this offense, especially in the half-court offense. Just talking about Cade. You still hear me? Go ahead, do your thing.
Oh, and I can hear you. Yeah, so you talk about his turnovers for the
so I was just basically just highlighting kind of what we already talked about as far as having a better structured team around you, making you look much better as a player. And I think we're just seeing that with him. We know the 3 straight triple doubles, all that. But
the guy.
Go ahead. Can you still hear me? I think I lost E. I think this is one of his signature games this year, guys. Or for his career, to be honest. When you think about the 3 straight triple doubles, but also the win. It feels like ESPN and all these different outlets are just waiting for the Pistons to, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause it's so much harder to promote that in a loss. But every time the Pistons get a win, they pretty much seem to be trying to feature Detroit, right, in a positive way. So it makes me happy to see that Cade is able to really benefit from that and all the hard work he's put in, and to be able to make the offensive play and the defensive play was very, very important. Because I think from this whole game, that's going to be what's remembered, is the defensive play. Not the triple-double, right? Not the 7 assists in the first quarter, right? Not the shot even, which was a very tough shot with 2 defenders coming at you with your left hand off the glass in the crucial situation. That's tough. But that block is Detroit. That block is Detroit basketball, right? It's the defense. It's always the defense first. And so that is what I think is most important for him with regard to this game. Because everybody's saying, can he close? Come on, man, stop. He made the most important play at the end of the game on both ends, and he got a triple-double. You know what I mean? What more do you want? So he's going to continue to get better and better, man. But I'm just really excited for this young backcourt, and I think we have the right coach to put them in position to be successful. I really think they can be better as a duo than Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland were. That's just me. Okay, so let's get to our next hitter. Actually, let's check the comments out. Let's see what you guys talking about. 7-0. Yeah, I do too. The schedule is looking pretty. We're going to get to that too as far as the schedule. Glitch in the Matrix. We back, bro. We back. Let's talk about Tobias for a minute, man. Tobias Harris, right? It's been tough. But lately, Tobias Harris offensively is starting to come around. We know that he had a tough stretch. Right? He had a very tough stretch to start the season. But I think a lot of that was just because he was still getting acclimated to how much defense he was going to have to play here. I don't think he's played this much defense in recent memory in his career, maybe since he was last here. But I think he had a certain reserve of offense, of energy, that is just not there now because of how much he actually spent defensively, right? So I think that's a big reason as to why it took him a little time to adjust, because we're slowly starting to see his offense come around now. We're slowly starting to see that jumper coming up short less, right? He has more of his legs late in games. And I think that has been the biggest reason as to why he has struggled early, and now he's slowly starting to get his legs under him, and you're seeing it offensively. He just looks a lot more comfortable offensively. So just talk about Tobias and, how offensively he really struggled and how he's slowly appearing to come out of that slump. But I'm going to get your thoughts on Tobias Harris, his season. Just your thoughts.
Yeah, my apologies for the internet connection, y'all. I appreciate
it's all good, bro.
Being patient with me.
We've all been there.
Tobias, I asked JB about him yesterday because you can see the night and day difference. When he's struggling, they're not getting blown out, but you can see, okay, if he just hit a couple here, it can tip that much. So 22 points from him yesterday, and I love what JB said. The guys look at him as that big brother figure, and when he's got it going, they want to like reciprocate and make sure like they're keeping fire with him. Mm-hmm. And you saw that happening. I think it's with all the veterans as well. Beasley came off the bench with 22. When Tim Hardaway is going, you see how impactful he can be. But Tobias he's still got that 3-level score in him. He has that mid-range game. When he's able to knock down those open threes, you see how effective he can be, because Ivy and Cade have been doing a amazing job of drawing defenders and hitting them for open corner shots. So when he's knocking them down, you see how dangerous this team can be, especially if they're doing that in transition as well. So
exactly.
Yeah, Tobias, it also his ability to post up too. They've been going a lot in the post to him instead of just relying on perimeter ISOs that we've seen over the past several seasons from the guards. So having Tobias as that like that kind of X factor scorer who's also playing committed defense as well, it brings so much for this team, and it's really translating for the young guys as well as a unit.
That's a great point, man. We were talking about the defense, and it's easy to focus on offense, but when you look at what he's been doing defensively, even though he's not a defensive stopper, just his raw numbers, I forget which game it was, but he had 14 rebounds a few games back to lead the team, and he followed that up with 10 plus the next few games. So when he was here the first time around, he wasn't doing that.
Facts.
Because we had the best rebounder in the world on the same team. Mm-hmm. So there was no need for him he was always outlet, you know. But now you see all these guys are crashing the glass. So I think he's just adjusting to his workload defensively and what he's being asked to do. Because I watched him with Philly last year, and he wasn't there. Joel Embiid, you know what I mean? So another guy, so it's just interesting to see him kind of adjust to this based on how he's been playing in years past. And when you think about, crunch time, we always talk about crunch time, winning time, right? Mm-hmm. When you think about last night, the Pistons needed Tobias in the fourth quarter when Cade sat down, because the offense got very stagnant. In a few possessions, he really kept them above water. Mm-hmm. So just his ability to lay down the stretch now, to be able to knock down shots, because he seemed kind of gassed at times in the fourth quarter. But just seeing him look for his offense in the fourth quarter when he knows we need it, was encouraging for me too.
Man, someone brought up a really good point to me on Twitter, kind of talking about, his effect in those kind of games. So not only is this a young team that's, obviously learning how to win, they've been in some compromising situations too, where they're carrying maybe a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, but the opposition goes on a run, and JB's calling a lot of timeouts quick. Mm-hmm. So when ththey're going into that 3-4 minute stretch where the opposition is still rolling and putting on pressure, they got to work with one timeout where they can't take another one and take another breath and say, all right, well, let's talk about it. They got to think on the fly how to get it together. And that's where the veterans are coming in big. So when you still got Cade, because again, you don't want Cade just playing, ISO dart to the hoop ball. Same with Ivy. Like that's not where they're at their best.
Not the best.
You want when they're moving, and you want them finding those spot up shooters that Trajan did a good job of bringing in. So knowing that they were able to add that kind of effect, especially for Tobias finally knocking down some quarter threes, you see how impactful it can be and how much it can slow down the momentum of the other team. And you talked about his rebounding too. The Pistons are 7th in the reboundings right now, just under 46 a game. And it's not just because of Jalen Duren, who's kind of Drummond reminiscent, but that's crazy. When you got Tobias giving you 14, when Cade is giving you a triple-double, Jaden Ivey needs some credit too. People don't talk about how he crashes the glass, he'll tip the ball with his speed. Like, he uses his athleticism for more than just scoring. So you're seeing that buy-in, you're seeing that effort. It is just those kind of little plays that help translate to those open shots for guys like Tobias as well. It's a lot of good things that this team is doing right now, man. I really hope the fans are encouraged.
I do too, man. I mean, they're playing with intention now.
Yeah.
It just looks just the emotion, bro, at the end of games, during games. It just wasn't there last year.
No.
It was almost like they were kind of just sleepwalking through the season. That's really how it felt to me. They were there, but they weren't really there. They didn't really feel as if they were working towards or moving towards a direction, right? They were kind of just no pulse for most of the season. They were playing, but it just didn't feel as if they were playing for something, you know? So yeah, it's kind of my observation on that. What do you think?
Yeah, man, the purpose is very, very evident at this point because it wasn't there to start because so many people had a question of, okay, yeah, you want to play defense with this lineup, but Killian Hayes is not good. Like the plays that we've seen Jaden Ivey make, the way he's able to finish, how he contorts his body, even if he don't make it, just the fearlessness of him being able to do that. Killian never dreamed of doing anything like that. And he's playing 30 minutes over the guy we're talking about right now. Like that just changed a lot. And I think it affected a lot of the guys too. They obviously went through a lot of injuries as well too to start the season. Now they're just dealing with Bobby and Asar that aren't healthy, and then obviously Jalen Duren. But yeah, we're seeing the benefits of Cade having another playmaker next to him and having shooters around him, and how that it could affect other people around him too. Like I love the dynamic of him and Ivy together because when Cade is getting double teamed and when he's drawing extra attention, like this is why I don't want Jaden to play point guard. Jaden is so good at cutting off ball to go give that support. Like he knows, oh, it's a hole here. Let me splash. Like the play that I'm thinking about where Cade is getting doubled at the top. I think it was against the Lakers. Beef Stew flashes up to the free throw line, and then Ivy darts from the corner right to the hoop, and he gets a two-handed jam, right at the rim. Like his intelligence with that is so valuable, and people just want to, oh, Ivy plays quicker. He plays quicker. Yeah, that's cool, but his ability to move without the ball in an offense like this is so important. So they're all understanding their preference. They're all understanding like what their identity is, and it's getting better and better each game. I think that we're starting to see.
100%. And I think what you just said, in my opinion, like I always say, we're not going to go too far backwards, but I think that shows the difference in the types of coaches and why every coach can't coach every team.
Right.
You know, every coach doesn't understand how to get the best out of certain players. They have their system, and that's their system. You know what I mean? Right. And so I feel like JB understands, okay, he does this, and okay, he does that. How can we make those two this? You know what I mean? Like it just feels like this is what we're doing. You guys understand that? Makes sense? Right. It works, right? I think that's the difference. And I think that's why we're seeing Jaden put in the best possible situations offensively. And same thing with Cade, because JB understands how to get the best out of them individually and collectively. The same way he did with Garland and Mitchell. So I think that's been the biggest difference.
And they genuinely care, man. Like I said, they're putting in the time because they genuinely want to see this work. Like those guys all have talent. And if they're really that unhappy, like if Cade didn't want to sign his extension, nobody would have argued. If Ivy was that upset with Monty Williams to say, you know what, I can't keep doing this, I'll figure something else out, nobody would have been upset. We would have understood based on the circumstances that they were put in. I think from top to bottom, from leadership with the front office to JB's dedication to working with guys at what they're best at and how to bring out the rest of them on time as well.
Exactly.
Like the guys buy into, as you keep saying, play for each other, play for a team goal. I think it's showing and is resonating with the way that they're able to produce on the floor. And it's just a little something different every week that we're seeing, especially with, Ivy's ability to shoot, his lockdown defense, but his improved defense. Like it's showing things that we were hoping to see last season, but it feels good to see right now at the start of the JB Biggerstaff regime. Yeah,
absolutely, bro. I think it's a major difference. It's a big deal when it comes to coaching style, because not to get too deep on that, but I'm sure you've played organized basketball. You've had coaches, and you know what I mean. So it's just like it's a big difference when you have a coach that has a system that you have to learn and trust that it will eventually work, versus the coach observing and studying you and then saying, okay, don't change your thing, just tweak this. When you can play freely and don't, you know what I mean? It just makes it so much easier for you to want to play for your coach.
Right.
Because they're allowing you, they want to see the best out of you. They're not just worried about their system or how they do things. It's, okay, let me adapt to you. You guys are the players. You guys are the stars. I don't want to change too much about this. Let's just get the best out of it. And I think that's what he's doing. And that's what makes guys want to play defense. Okay, I'll commit on this end. Offensively, I'm going to get buckets because I'm great at this, and you're allowing me to do that. You know what I mean? So I think that's a really important thing that we need to look at when it comes to coaching. And I think that's why he's done such a great job with his team so far.
Yeah, I think he understands that. I think he understands this is a young team. I think they're going to understand the X's and O's over time. They're going to, understand spacing and being in the right spots over time. But at this point right now, I know what their tools are. Cade is a 6'8", 222, 30 point guard. We're going to post him up more. Jaden Ivey is a speed demon. If we can get stops, we're going to tell him to run up the floor immediately so he can get an open bucket. What just happened yesterday against Atlanta? Same thing. Cade sees him and he's got an easy dunk. Like I really feel like he's had more dunks in these 10 games than he had all last season. I really believe that. So to see that that JB has taken so much thought, and even with guys like Stu, knowing, okay, like he even admitted, he said, I wasn't really playing him in the right spot. We should clear out the lane a little bit more to give the drivers more space and let him shoot, and then he can dive for a rebound after. So just knowing that he's able to actually make those adjustments on the fly, try different things like playing Tobias at the 5 just to see if it gets a pop. Like just the simple try of that and enhancing on what they're good at already, it shows how much he cares, and it shows he's that focused on those kind of details. Yeah,
100%. 100%. I want to ask you about Jalen Duren, bro.
Okay.
What are your overall thoughts on him? I really felt like he was catching a rhythm right before he got hurt. But before I get into it, just let me get your thoughts on how you thought he has looked and what's up with his injury too.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think I saw on social media that he's had, I think they talked about it on the broadcast, that he's missed 40 games due to ankle injuries. That's insane coming into your third season. So, and like you just said, it always seems to happen when he's building momentum. Just before, I think it was before the Charlotte game, I think he just came off of the game against the Lakers, if I'm not mistaken. He played pretty good that game. Like he's had moments where he's shown that if he's playing focused and he's doing what the team needs him to do, that it could change a lot. And it shows how productive that he can be. But it's been a lot of highs and lows with him right now. I'm not on the point of giving up because I've seen on social media all the ESPN trade machines and the ideas. It's too soon for that so far. I'm going to give him a little bit more time just because you don't have an abundance of bigs, and a guy with his size and his connection with Cade and Jaden Ivey, who does a good job against secondary passes to him. I think they need to kind of figure that out for right now. I think it's way too soon to talk about that, but he definitely needs to kind of hone in on that defensive consistency. I really hope he's learning a lot from Beef Stew, because the way he's been coming in and defending the paint, stopping guys like Anthony Davis, protecting the paint against other bigs, showing what discipline looks like it needs to happen in terms of defending on the perimeter. I hope he's taking a lot of those notes, because I still think he can be a foundational piece on this team, but some of that consistency needs to drive together. Again, I don't believe he needs to do a lot offensively. Like I'm not looking for him to be like their go-to post guy or nothing like that. Just catch the lobs from Cade, be in a dunker spot, create second chance opportunities. But for right now, defensively, he's got to lock in on those details of how to stay out of foul trouble, how to defend on the perimeter, and how to be that anchor on the weak side. If a defender beats or opposition beats a defender, and he has to be that cleanup guy. Just got to see that consistency out of him, and it just sucks that an injury had to derail it again at this point.
I agree, bro. Like for me, I feel JD's mindset needs to be focused on two things, and you kind of hit on them: the defensive end of the floor and screening. Yeah, I think if he does those two things, if he masters those two things, or just improves on those two things, he'll have all the offense he needs. Because, first of all, man, I just want him to have the mindset of, let me go earn some offense. You know what I mean? Just focus on the defensive end of the floor. And offensively, when you defend the paint as a guard, I'm looking for you. I'm looking for you. So, if I'm going to look for you, we got to make sure we're not getting offensive foul going the other way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's both sides of the floor and how they work together. And so when he's well, not lately, but before the last game, it seemed like he was afraid to set a hard screen because it was like the timing with him and Cade and him and Jaden are just off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So the screens will be real soft. You know, it seems like the last few games, your timing has gotten much better.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the last 2 games, his last 2 games, he only had 1 offensive screen. So that's a huge improvement. And you look at a guy like, because people were saying to me, well, maybe it's Cade's fault. Maybe Cade needs to give him another step. True, maybe, but how many offensive fouls do you see Stu get setting screens? You just don't see it. Maybe once every 3 or 4 games, it doesn't happen. He has that timing down as far as how to plant, when to plant, what he's looking for, how much space to give. So I just think those 2 things, as far as the defensive end of the floor and just working on setting good hard screens without committing a foul, will go a long way for him this season.
Yeah, he's kind of at a plague position because of how big he is and how strong he is. Like, I ain't gonna lie, some of the foul calls I think are kind of bogus. I do too. To give him credit, you're right. I think he's too strong and they're selling it enough to where it looks like it could be a foul. But he got to adjust to that. He has to make sure his feet are set. He has to make sure Cade or Ivy are planted to make sure it looks like a screen instead of being a little more forceful. But yeah, that's got to be a focus of his for sure, because you see how effective it can be when Ivy's playing downhill. Like, they're doing a really good job of where Ivy is driving. He's not driving at the 3. He's driving a kind of higher towards the half court line, which gives him way more space to kind of dissect from there. So they got to find a way to get that timing down together, because he does have that value, even when it's not the big screening. Even if he's screening off ball for somebody else, because we've seen Beasley screen on ball, we've seen Hardaway screen off ball. Like, those kind of things help the offense a lot. And again, a lot of your stuff is going to be kind of cleanup work to begin with anyway. He's still a great rebounder. Does a great job of, tipping loose balls back for extra shots. So, yeah, as long as he's finding a way to kind of trim down on the fouls, maybe stack up a little more blocks, keep being a presence in the paint and altering shots. You don't even have to block every shot, but can you alter a few here or there? I think it's possible. He has the athleticism. He's, coming into his own slowly, I believe. He just got to stay healthy and on the court. These ankle injuries are not going to be easy to kind of recover from. You got to go play back on the perimeter as a big. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Good point, bro. Yeah. I definitely have not lost faith or even confidence in him. I just think, like you said, because he's still a very young player too, and I think honestly, some of these guys just kind of checked out last year, to be honest with you. I think they, like you mentioned, the Jaden move, as far as with him starting, I think that kind of turned heads. Like, wait a minute, what? You know what I mean? Your credibility can kind of get shot with things like that. But getting back to Jalen, man, I just really believe that he has everything he needs to be a really, really good player. Everything. You know what I mean? There's nothing that's lacking. He even showed in as early as summer league his vision and passing ability, hitting cutters out of the box. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I think it's all there for him. It's just a matter of him just putting it all together and focusing on the defensive end. He needs to be an anchor. He needs to be an anchor. Guys need to think twice when they come in there. You know what I mean? So, and that's why I think just learning how to set the tone is going to be important for him, because I think that's why Stu started and Paul Reed didn't last game.
Yeah.
Setting the tone. I feel like Paul Reed is offensively a better player, right? Yeah. And defensively, I think Stu's a better player. So, but it just shows you what JV was going with, leading with defense, making the team uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So I think if JD can develop that mindset to, I'm going to set a tone every single night.
Yeah.
And commit to that. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. And I was just saying, and that's why I wanted to see it work with Duren, because I think he fits with this kind of team better than a lot of others that he could go to. Like, people have thrown out different options, but I think a team with 2, athletic, ball-centric players who are unselfish, who like throwing, lobs over the rim, who have the vision to make those drop-off passes if he's cutting or if he's rolling. I just think it fits too well. I think he needs to show that he can be that reliable piece. Again, you don't want to – they've had to do a lot of adjusting defensively in terms of who their big man is, even their perimeter defending without having a SAR. Like, it's shown how committed guys like Ivy and Cade have to be. Like, you just said it. Like, Trae Young wasn't being guarded by, people who sometimes call Ivy maybe not the strongest defender, but for the majority of the game, he was on him and he was, pushing him the best way that he could. So using his frame, using his body, it shows that the discipline can be there. And as long as the coaching is there as well, as long as the coaching and the buy-in is there, that improvement is possible. So yeah, I don't think it's the right time to pull the plug on Dern. I still think there's a world where he makes sense as the future foundation big of this team. You just got to hone in on that consistency. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I want to ask you about this guy right here. Ron Holland.
Oh, man. Mr. Hustle.
Bro, he has shown, I said it before, what I'm seeing from him right now, I was hoping to see by the end of the season.
Yeah.
He is way ahead of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
He's making an impact already as a rookie in big moments, game-winning moments. So just kind of want to get your thoughts on him. How do you feel about him so far and what you've seen from him?
Yeah, the good news about Ron, and I kind of talked about this coming into the season, he's able to be ahead of schedule, and this isn't shade or a slight. He's able to be ahead of schedule because they're not relying on him as heavy as they've had to rely on their other rookies in previous years.
Good point.
He's able to come off the bench. He's able to be an energy guy, a glue guy that kind of just, makes those fearless plays that, kind of shoots a bit of life inside of LCA. And we've seen it. We've seen him show the ability to, switch out on defense. We've shown his ability to, knock down open shots, create his own shot in or out of transition. Ron Holland has been extremely impressive. JB has constantly called him fearless. And he showed it too, where he was able to rely on him when Fontecchio was kind of struggling against the Lakers. They were able to put Ron in there, and he was making plays on both ends. Same thing with the Charlotte game. It bummed me out that they didn't get to iron that out with a win, because that would have been great for his confidence. I'm sure it's still high, but no, if it could have resulted in a W, but he's definitely ahead of schedule. I love the energy I see from him defensively. The guys love playing for him too. They see how active and involved he is on both ends. He's doing a fantastic job. I'm really impressed with the steps he's taken thus far.
Yeah, man. It's so crazy because I did not know much about him when he was a member of the G League Ignite. I did not. I was hoping we were going to potentially get his teammate, Matas.
Yeah.
That was the guy. Matas Bazelis. So to see what he's doing so far, and I can tell he's very competitive. He's very competitive, man. He's got a chip. He's not even cliche. You can just see it on the court. I was watching him last night, barreling to the hoop, knocking over a member of his draft class, and talking to himself, giving him the too little, and talking to himself as he went down the court. Dude, ain't better than me. How'd he go 1 and 1? If you watch again, he was talking to himself. So like Zachary Rizachet, and these guys talk, man. That means something to them. Your draft, where you fall, especially early in your career as a rookie, that means something to you. It's fresh. It's really fresh in people's minds. So you want to make a statement. And just that play alone showed me that this dude, he's bringing that fight every single night. Watching him in the opener versus the Pacers, when Ben was getting into it with Jaden, guess he comes out of nowhere. Hey, what's up? I'm here now too. To the point where he's guarding him. He's strapping him. No, I got him. And he's literally, if you're honest, be honest, he's clamping him up. And it's funny because he knocked the pass off, or was it a pass or a shot? He knocked the shot off of his own leg, went out of bounds, and he's clapping in his face. Like he's just like, nah, bro, it's not going down, bro. It's not happening. So he's a really good teammate. I love that about him. He's a good teammate. He wants to help his guys. He wants to be there for his guys. So yeah, man, the things he's doing as a rookie, and I know he makes mistakes here and there, but just his composure on the court. He's very composed on the court, right? He's very sure of himself on the court. He's not intimidated by anybody on the court. I love that about him. So to have that, he acts like he's already been there before. And I love that about him. So yeah, just want to get your thoughts on his mental. Have you been impressed with what you've seen from him mentally?
100%. I think the steps and the way he's playing and how he's playing. Again, we started off with kind of just seeing him, provide some energy in the first half, and, it helps them, finish on a high note in the second quarter, and you can thank him for good rebounds or creating transition plays.
Yeah.
That was a lot of what he did. But to me, I think the pivotal 2 games that I just talked about were the Laker game, where again you can rely on him in big closing minutes now, where you can rely on him to play a little bit of defense here and not foul, where you can be in position to grab a rebound or knock down an open shot when we need it. Like he's shown the ability to do different things. And you spoke to it. I think composure for a rookie is the biggest thing. You don't want to look like it's too big for you. Pause. You don't look like the moment no Diddy. You don't want to look like it's too much for a rookie to be playing with. So for him, I think he's done a great job of really just adapting to situational basketball. Because coming in, you're kind of just wanting to just make an impression by any means necessary. But I feel like he's doing a good job of saying, okay, this is where I need to be. This is what I'm going to do. Oh, this is what they need me to do today. Or I have an opportunity to drive and kick here. Then I'll do that. Oh, maybe I feel a little bit more froggy. I'll shoot a floater over Anthony Davis. Like he's doing a lot of things that we weren't really expecting. And he doesn't have to be looked at as like one of their number 1 go-to scorers. So he can progress slowly. And I think by the end of the season, I think we're going to see maybe more minutes for him and a lot more of a bigger role as he continues to progress in his early stage of his career.
Yeah, man. I see a lot of right now. I see a lot of Chicago Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Somebody and that's
early Jimmy.
Early Jimmy. Early Jimmy was really good. He wasn't the offensive guy that he is now.
Right.
But and I'm not saying he has that type of ceiling. He may. He's already surprised me already, so he may.
Right.
But that's kind of the trajectory I see for him. Just focusing on the defensive end, but here and there, just showing what you can do offensively. There's so many times, I mentioned in the last video, to where he's just surprised me with his ball handling. Things I didn't know he could do. And it's like, bro, pass the ball. Oh, okay. All right. My bad. A lot of that. You know what I mean? So he's just continuing to show more and more of what he has. And you mentioned the mental too. He doesn't have that deer in the headlights look when he's on the court. He's not in his own head. He's not just where he's got his teammates. No, bro, over here. Okay. Like there isn't that. He knows what's going on the court. He understands what's happening. He's locked in. He's not nervous. He doesn't look to be nervous. He's just like, let's hoop. And only certain types of guys have that. Everybody doesn't have that. As talented as you may be, everybody doesn't have that. Right? Just that natural ability to play above everything else. And that's what he does. And so yeah, he's impressed me, bro. I'm really looking forward to seeing his growth. And I want to ask you this with regard to Ron Holland. When Asar comes back, do they move Holland out of the rotation? What are your thoughts on that one? I have mine, but if you want, you can go first if you want.
Yeah, I'm nervous about that. I'm not gonna lie, man. Listen, I like Asar a lot, and I do think if he were active in some games, it could have tipped the scale and helped with a lot of different things. But Asar, I don't think showed this level of offensive execution that we're seeing from Ron Holland right now.
I agree.
And you don't want to slow down his momentum. You want to let them both come along, but I don't think they're in a position where, yes, he's going to be helpful defensively, where maybe he'll be playing 15, 20 minutes when he comes back. We don't know when that's going to be. They still haven't really given us much time. The league has been kind of hush-hush about it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't think you slow down what Ron has been doing at all, because he's not just like, to me, the Pistons have had a problem, especially going back to last season. When you look at like rookies they've had or the vets they've had, they're good at one side and a liability on the other. So you don't really have that with Ron right now. He's not showing that he can't play D or score and get a bucket when he needs to. We've seen that from Asar. You just talked about his dribble and his handle too. I haven't seen a problem with Ron's handle. We saw a big problem with Asar's handle last season. That's not saying it can't get better, but that was a glaring issue early in the season. So no, I don't think you slow down Ron's train at all right now. You let him keep going, and you bring Asar on slowly, especially considering what his health issue is at the moment.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. I wanted to ask you this question. If they both can get to respectable, let's just say the NBA league average is from 3-point.
Okay.
Couldn't you play them both?
Yeah, I don't see why not. They would both fit next to Cade and Ivy. And then I'm just sitting here imagining what transition would be like when Cade goes to the bench and you can get stops and run a fast break with Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, and Ron Holland. Good luck. Yeah. I think it makes sense. They're at a point where, again, they're skilled at numerous different things. That kind of versatility is important to have. And you don't want to shrink that or clamp that on a guy like Ron. Like, I feel like you want to keep, building his confidence, keep letting him be the sixth man off the bench, seventh man off the bench. Like, he's shown that he has value and that he can actually impact the game too. He's not just out there doing a couple little things and it's like, okay, tap on the head. No, he's doing super impactful things that are better. He's getting loose balls, getting offensive rebounds. Ron is doing a fantastic job. Yes, yeah. I wouldn't slow that down in any way, shape, or form.
I wouldn't either, bro. And I try to play angel's advocate and just try to give Asar a little bit benefit of the doubt and just say, what if Ron was on last year's team and Asar was playing for this year's team? How would that look? You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of it was situation.
Yeah.
A lot of what happened, a lot of what Asar did last year, a lot of his highlight plays or signature plays of the season, we won 14 games, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
People don't even remember. Because like my thing is kind of just throw last year away anyway. That's just kind of my mindset because just want to let it go. So it's a lot of what he did does get lost.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking, how would he look in this type of situation now with the spacers that we have now? You know what I mean? So I definitely want to keep both of those guys. I am not, because you mentioned the versatility. We could be extremely unpredictable on offense and defense. If those guys could get to a healthy clip from three, Cade, Jaden, Ron, Asar, and JD, defensively, good luck. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking about, bro, because to me, all those guys embody what a defensive unit could be, too. Go ahead.
And we see, you see how important it is on winning teams, too. Even in looking at the teams that the Pistons just played against, New York has a lot of lengthy wings. They got OG Anunoby.
Yeah.
They got Bridges. They got a lot of guys that are forwards that kind of have that versatility to guard your guards and your forwards. Boston has the same thing. LA has a little bit of it. The Hawks showed a lot of that with the different buys they threw at Cade Cunningham.
Yep.
It's important to have a few of those different guys. So, yeah, there's a world where you're going to need, Ron and Asar defensively, most importantly, more so than offense. Because again, when you bring in Asar, and if he's not really one of your primary ball handlers, he does to an extent limit your ability to space and have shooters on the floor. So, but defensively, though, yeah, you're going to need both of them to bring it to bring that energy, and I think they'll be able to do so once Asar gets healthy.
Yeah, and I really do hope that he gets better soon, like non-basketball, because we saw the blood clot situation with Chris Bosh. You know what I mean? So health, safety always first, health first. I am looking forward to him playing just to see what it looks like, and just from what we saw last year with a totally different system, it's exciting. But I really am looking forward to him just getting healthy first.
For sure.
And whatever that means, I know as fans, it can be easy to just focus on the basketball, but, these guys have lives to think about long term. So whatever that means, do it. You know what I mean? Like just, that, I just wanted to say that as well.
Pray for you, Asar.
Absolutely. You already know it. Bro. Let's get to our last topic here, bro. This has been a very polarizing subject here. Will the Pistons make the playoffs? So first of all, chat, I want to know what y'all think. We've talked about, and you can even throw a play-in number 2 if you want as a caveat. If you think play-in versus playoffs, where do you think we sit? I'm going to bring up the standings in a minute so we can take a look at that. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that too, E, as far as, do you think that's a possibility? You think it's a definite possibility? You think it's ambitious? Where you at with it?
Oh man.
Uh-oh.
I think it's a possibility, man. I really think they can. I think the postseason is an absolute possibility, especially with the play-in as an option now. I said teams that I wasn't really sold in. I mean, I knew the East was going to be strong towards the top, But there's a lot of teams that some towards the bottom I'm surprised by. Milwaukee and Philly, that shocked me.
Yeah.
But see these other teams that I thought the Pistons could compete with, I already think they're better than right now. I think they're better than Atlanta. I don't care that Charlotte won last second. I think they're still a better team than Charlotte. Indiana is not who they were last season. That Linsanity run, I think, is gonna, be a one-time deal. Charlotte, I think, is gonna come down to earth. Orlando, I feel really bad about. I love me some Paolo Banchero, and it sucks that he's injured right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, those circumstances are gonna play a difference. Miami, I don't think is the same. Chicago, Washington, Toronto, like these are all teams that I don't that they may be good, but are they that much better than a Piston team that has this kind of motivation and talent around them? I don't think so. I think it doesn't seem impossible for them to be able to sneak into that 9th spot or the 8th seed. I don't think it's impossible. Like we're seeing these guys exceed and excel in these expectations with Jaden Ivey being a 3-level scorer. We're seeing them play team defense. We're seeing the vets serve what their purpose was supposed to be. We're seeing Tobias when he's that complimentary scorer that you need. And Cade looks like every bit of a superstar that we thought he was going to be. So knowing that you have all that along with good coaching too, I don't think it's impossible to think that this team could be in the playoffs. I absolutely believe so.
So let's play a game. Let's play a little game.
Okay.
Can you see? Actually, if you can't see it, it's okay. Chat, let me know if you guys can see this, if it's clear enough for you guys. We're going to play a game. I'm going to run through these teams, and you're going to either say yes or no.
Okay.
The question is, are we better than them?
Like
are we
right
better
now?
than this team?
Okay.
Right now, I'm going to go through the whole Eastern Conference.
Cool.
All you got to say is yes or no. I'm going to keep track of who you say yes and who you say no for.
Easy.
Ready?
Let's do it.
Cleveland Cavaliers. Are we better?
No.
Boston Celtics.
No.
New York Knicks.
No.
Charlotte Hornets.
Yes.
Indiana Pacers.
To be fair, I'll just say no for now. No for now. Can I get an asterisk no for now?
Right.
All right.
Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I think they're better than Brooklyn. I do.
Atlanta Hawks.
Yes.
Orlando Magic.
When healthy, no. Not when they're healthy.
Miami Heat.
Yes, I'm not sold on Miami. I think they're coming down soon. I think they're better than Miami.
I got you. Chicago Bulls.
Yes.
Washington Wizards.
Yes.
Toronto Raptors.
Definitely.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, I don't know.
As currently constructed.
God, I don't know what they doing down there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And finally, last but not least, Philadelphia 76ers.
As they're currently constructed now, yes, I think this is a better team. Yes.
You named 5 teams that you think are better than us.
Yeah.
And we just came out of a 10-game stretch where the first 4 teams were playoff teams last year. In another one of those games, we lose on the last second buzzer beater.
Yep.
And you name 5 teams that are better than us, and we're 4-6. You see what I'm saying? This is why I think a lot of those spots are up for the taking. Because after those first 3 teams, Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, the Hornets is right there at 4, bro. If we win that game, we're there at 4. You see what I mean? So I know it's early, but I'm just saying the East is not that good anymore, bro. It's really not. Like, I think this is a good time. This is a perfect opportunity to make a respectable name for yourself in the East. Not win it all. No. Not win the East. No. Win a playoff round. Break the streak that's been there since 2009. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is why this period is so important for this team, because they can really grab hold of some respect here in this Eastern Conference. So I just want to say that's part of why I think this team is going to get into the playoffs, because I think they're going to be above that dotted line, not below it. You know what I mean? They're going to be above the play-in line, I believe, at a 6 seed. I think you guys said 6 seed too. That's what I have them at the 6 seed.
Yeah, yep. And I don't think that's like a homer take. I really don't. If you look at the top, Cleveland's undefeated, Boston's 8-2, New York is 4-4, and everybody else is under 500.
Yes,
that's not crazy to think that these teams. And again, you played a majority of these teams already.
Right.
You kept pace with Cleveland. You kept pace with Boston.
Yeah.
You should have beat Indiana. You should have beat Charlotte.
Yep.
Again, they come down
7-3 could be.
You could be 7-3. Tobias knocks down a couple corner threes.
Exactly,
Who knows
bro.
where they're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel like yes, it's a long season. A lot of things has to develop. But if you look at where teams are right now and where they're trending and how the Pistons have been performing, you've shown the ability to keep up with just about everybody.
Right.
Again, New York is a damn good team. There's nothing wrong with losing to them how you did. It is what it is. It happens. And you got that out of the way early. But they have kept pace and had an opportunity to beat literally every other team that they've played against this season. This absolutely has the making of being a playoff team if they continue the momentum that they're on right now.
I want to address this. If we're better than Indiana, we would have beat them. This is not a 7-game series.
Yeah, that's
if it's a 7-game series, and you can say that, but it's the first game of the season, which is really a feel-out game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think we're better between then and now. Anyway, I think we've gotten better since then. This team now, right now, after 10 games, is much better than it was at the start of the season. So I hear what you're saying, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think just because they won the season opener, when all these guys are playing their first game of 82, that they're better than us. Just don't think that.
And if they are better, it's not by a huge margin. I mean, Halliburton's not playing better than Cade Cunningham.
No.
I don't think anybody on Indiana's team is playing better than Cade. Like Siakam is doing good. He's averaging 20. But outside of that, he's their leading scorer. Halliburton is taking a step backwards right now. They don't have the same makeup. And when you played them to start the season,
right,
you were, again, that was your first introduction with them as a team. I guarantee if they play them right now, you might see a different result. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Indiana, again, I think they had a great run of what they did last season. I think they're going to show who they really are this season. And so far, it's kind of looking like that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. I'm very confident that we're going to the playoffs, bro. And I could see us being a sneaky team. I could see it being a sneaky team. And just because it's going to be tough. Well, here's the thing, bro. Because let's just say we land at 6, right? I think it's important to try to get to 5.
Yeah.
Because the top 3, you're not beating in the playoffs. You can give them battles. You can surprise them, get a game or two. But after that, things could change. We're 10 games in, right? But as currently constructed, if I'm 5, I don't mind playing the Hornets in the first round.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're going to beat them as far as I'm concerned. So I just think, look, just projecting out, because there could be a lot of movement. Who knows who could catch fire? The Bucks, they figure it out. But I'm just but yeah, I think these are going to be the 3 teams in the East. I think this is going to be the 3-headed monster. The Cavaliers, the Celtics, and the Knicks, and everybody else. So I just think the Pistons should try to get to that 5 seed. They can somehow get to 5, and I can see that happening because I think the worst 10-game stretch has already passed.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think they need to take advantage of the fortune that's in front of them too. Like, again, if there's teams that are dealing with injuries, if there are teams that are dealing with, turmoil, if there are teams that have to deal with Doc Rivers being their head coach, that's not your problem. That's not your problem. Go win. Go take advantage of that because you were losing to teams in these exact same situations. That's why I was just arguing with a dude on social media about it. He said, "Oh, I mean, the Hawks aren't all that, and you beat the Sixers who were shorthanded." The Pistons were blowing leads who had the same exact situation. So it does not matter.
True.
Whoever's on your schedule, whatever their circumstances are, go win. Every game matters, and it's significant from where you were last season. So I'm not buying any of that. If you want to hate on them when they lose to teams that they should beat, give them credit for the teams that they do beat that you maybe didn't expect them to beat in the first place. So, no, I'm going to give them their credit, and they got to take advantage of where the Milwaukee's are, where the Raptors are, where the Sixers are. Build that momentum right now while they're trying to come up for water. Do it right now.
No, you're 100% correct. That's one thing that I talk about a lot on this channel. You guys are probably tired of hearing about this, is young teams are not consistent. Right?
Right.
The veterans that we have now are going to make us a lot more consistent than we would have been without them. But young stars, it takes time to develop that consistency over an 82-game season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now, so what you mentioned, though, is what I have been kind of hoping doesn't happen as far as winning the games you're not supposed to win, but also losing the ones you're supposed to win. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like the Pistons, they play their competition sometimes.
Yeah. They
get up for the big games, the circle games, they get up for those. But, you know, they kind of get laxed when they're playing, you know, teams that they feel they're better than, you know? And so that will be my only concern. But I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's just to your point of mentioning that, because you talked about, you know, surprising teams, you know, surprising fans, you know, but I don't want to be surprised in the bad way. Like, we lost to who? You know, because even though on paper we're 14 games, you know, one team from last season, but we know we're much better than that as a squad. So the games you're supposed to win, just go get them. Like you mentioned, just go get them. Win the ones you're supposed to win. And everything else after that is cake, right? So they do that, they'll win 35 plus, in my opinion. Do you have a specific number you have them at?
Yeah, I was teetering around 30, 32.
Okay.
Again, they're off to a hot start already, and I like where their schedule has kind of lined up at this point. I don't know what the NBA was doing last season, just saying give them every postseason team to play in their first 20, 30 games.
Yep.
I don't understand that at all. But now being at a point where they're healthy, where, you know, their top guys are playing against top guys, and you're playing teams that, like you said, you can either surprise or should beat. Yeah, I don't see why 35 can't be, you know, obtainable, especially 35 could get you the 5th seed at this point. We don't know what 35 could be in this nasty Eastern Conference, but that's not your business. It's not your concern. You just keep playing we need to play and get to that magic number wherever it takes you.
100%. So I did a little math on that. If they went 4 and 6, 7 more times, plus 2 games, right? That puts them at 32. That will sit them at 32 and 48 with, I believe, 1 or 2 games remaining. 2 games remaining. So that's right where you had it, right? And that's if they go 4 and 6. I think, and King mentioned this too, I think post All-Star break is when we're going to see those 3-game winning streaks, 4-game winning streaks. You know, when we really start to catch a rhythm and guys are, you know, just playing freely, but playing within the system. Everybody, they're playing with more intention. They're gelling. The confidence is there, right? I think that's when we're going to see those win streaks in the second half of the season as they're gearing up for a potential playoff run, because that's going to be on their mind too. If they're where we think they're going to be post All-Star break, they're going to be looking at positioning and saying, look, they're going to be looking at that because these guys haven't been to the playoffs yet. So they're excited about it. They want to make a statement across the board, not just regular season. So that's why I think the second half of the season is when you're going to see a lot of those win streaks. And I think that that's going to be what gets them to that 34, 35-ish mark. Just my thoughts, though.
Yeah, those are the kind of benchmarks that you should be looking at. And before we leap to, I mean, Grant, I understand why you're asking about the playoffs because we're where the East is now.
Yeah, of course.
On the way to that, those are the kind of things that you need to worry about. Okay, can we get a 3, 4, 5-game win streak?
Yeah.
Can we win 3 games on our West Coast road trip? Can Cade be an all-star? Can we, knock off a team on the road that we ain't got no business playing against? So those kind of things build that confidence on the road to doing so. And knowing that they've been able to compete with Boston, like if they would have got beat by Boston by 25 points, nobody would have been surprised. But the fact that you took them down to the wire shows what kind of team you can be. So those kind of benchmarks, I think they look at and are obtainable. I even asked JB about it. He said, yeah, those are the levels of consistency that show that the young team is growing in the right direction. So, they're paying attention to the right things. And I think we're seeing a lot of good signs that they are taking those growth steps. Again, even in just 10 straight little games right now. Yeah.
And like you mentioned, it's like we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. You understand that, it's very ambitious to ask a team that was 14 and 68 to be a playoff team, right? But we also understand that a lot has changed, right? That a lot of what we see, a lot of what we don't see has changed, right? So I just think that the optimism is warranted considering that. And I just am curious to see how this team is able to sustain mentally over 82 game season. And I really love the vets' presence here now, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think of a guy like Malik Beasley, right, who had 22 off the bench yesterday. I just think about his ability to galvanize guys. Like he's. I just noticed that about him, bro. Like he's one of those guys where he's old enough to be a vet, but young enough to still be current. Just even with his social media, the way he's gassing Cade up. Mama, there goes that man. Like every opportunity he gets, he's boosting these guys' confidence, man. Even in that space. So I just love that about these guys. Tobias too. Both of those guys do that. And they have the ability in, their age to be able to have that happy medium of, still respected in the locker room and on the court, but still able to kind of, show their youth a little bit too.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of a lot of this. Again, we wanted to see the shooting, which has been there, some more consistent than others. But the fact of the matter is their impacts have been on high display already. We're seeing it with, like Beasley, like you said, talking to young guys, even in the locker room after the win, where they're now giving each other the game ball for whoever had the most impressive game. They give it to Cade. He gives him a speech. Like that kind of stuff.
Sounds familiar, right?
Sounds a little familiar, a little bit. But it's just those little kind of things. It brings these guys closer together. And we're seeing leadership steps take kind of an impactful move with the young guys too. Seeing Cade call out Beef Stew. Hey, why are you doing that? Why are you getting a tech right now? Cade, I think, even got in the ear of Tim Hardaway Jr. last night. Like there's different things that show that these guys are taking this season serious, that they're taking this development serious. And I think it's because of what they've seen from the big brothers that they have on this roster now. They didn't have, the most impactful veterans for the most, seasons past, because they were essentially all young guys.
Right.
Now you have guys who have been there. They want to help. They're playing big minutes. They're making big shots, and they're playing off of the young dudes. They're not just saying, give me the ball, get out of the way. They're playing complementary basketball with the young guys. So that's been one of the most encouraging things that I've seen thus far in the season. Yeah.
Their impact is definitely felt. That's kind of why I think about, because people are saying, why are we paying Tobias 25, 26 million a year? I think you got to factor that part in. You got to factor the leadership and just the experience, the little things that we don't even think about. That they're able to help these guys along with and kind of speed up their learning curve. Right. Because when you haven't won yet, it's going to be hard to learn how to win without somebody who's done it. And that was the entire last season. So many games, you heard what Greg Kelser said, the Pistons were finding ways to lose. Yes. So when you don't believe in your coach, I'm not speaking for anybody, but when it appears you don't believe in your coach, or you're not really fully committed because you don't believe, and you also haven't won at this level yet, when you're a young coach, when you're a young player, you're looking to your coach for that, right? Because you haven't done it yet. But having vets on your team, guys who are in the foxhole with you, and not just on the sideline, right? It makes a difference. And that's why I think that they're so important. That's why you pay Tobias $26 million. You know what I mean? If he's their age with his skill, maybe you pay him 21, 22 million, right? But you have to factor that in as well. And the fact that he knows the area well, has family here, that can also speed up the learning curves in so many different ways as far as outside of basketball. You know what I mean? So just knowing where to go sometimes. When you can go to your teammate and do that, oh yeah, I got you. It just makes life easier, so that basketball is also easier. So that's a big part of why I think these guys were rewarded with contracts that they got.
Yeah, and I want to keep giving a lot of praise to Trajan Langdon, because he did not have an easy task coming in here to clean all this up. And even with the three guys that they brought in, the three vets, they might not be here forever, but he's at least getting an idea now. Okay, this works next to Cade. Okay, Ivy can thrive next to a player like this. This guy takes pressure off of Jalen Duren by having him here. Like, these kind of things he was able to see. And like you just said, people were wondering, oh my God, how could you pay Tobias that much? Bro, it wasn't that much money. And you see what the impacts of it are. Like you said, on the court, he does a good job of talking to them off the court, hyping them up on social media.
That stuff matters, man. Yeah.
It really does, especially for a young group of guys who love the internet. So like having that kind of camaraderie on like I said, the court, off the court, and the internet, like that holy trinity matters. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing that synergy, man. It is really, really uplifting to see with them.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And then on the court too, man, Beasley has been such a safety. Him and Tim Hardaway have been such a safety valve on offense. It's so many times when I've seen the play broken down in 6 seconds on the shot clock, and you see a basic pick and roll with Cade and Bees.
Oh man.
And he just finds him, and Bees knocks it down, and Cade's just like,
yeah,
he didn't have that before.
No.
You know what I mean? So just being able to go to something simple like that just to get a good shot because he knows he's a shooter, those type of things, and he screens well for a guard, those types of things really help a leader. It helps a guy who is heavily relied on. So I'm just happy that he has those options now that he can go to and feel like he has offensive dogs with him on the court as well. So he doesn't feel like he's the only one that has to always create. Him and Jaden have to create, So it's good to see that.
Yeah, and that's a big benefit too, where people have talked about, Cade not being, a point guard or whatever it is. You don't want to have anybody be stamped as the primary guy every single time. You shouldn't be waiting. Okay, so if they get a rebound off a miss, you shouldn't have to look at Cade every single time.
Right.
The fact that they can give it to Tobias off the dribble and let him just go. Beasley can just go. Tim Hardaway can just go. Ivy can just go. Like that balance kind of helps, and it shows their versatility without like doing too much. It's not like having Tobias bring the ball up to throw the ball to Cade in the post is a problem because you're taking advantage still of Cade's strength as a skill set. So yeah, man. JB Bickerstaff, I even tweeted this earlier. I wonder what grade they would give him for his first 10 games. I'd give him an A- because I feel like he has done such a great job of, compared to Monty Williams, when things go wrong, he finds a way to fix it, or at the very least address it. He does that. He's challenged calls to show that he can support his guys, and he has really honed in on maximizing what they're best at. And I've been super impressed by his leadership, and we're seeing it reflect through the players as well. I'm loving the synergy of this team right now.
Yeah, I would also give him an A-. Only reason I gotta give him a B+ is because I would have had another big at the end of that Charlotte Hornets game. That may be petty. I'm probably petty with that. But that was my that was my only gripe. Like, bro, even if it was just Stu by himself, it was Paul Reed in there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on, you gotta have another big in there, bro. But other than that, no. But seriously, he definitely in a short period of time has done a lot of damage.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm just talking about this, bro. All these guys seem to be playing for something. Now, I know I've said it before, but that goes a long way, man. When all your guys are giving max effort, for the most part, most of your guys are giving max effort, every night, at least on the defensive end of the floor. So it's probably puzzling to a guy like Tobias, who in the beginning was struggling offensively. Is like, don't y'all see what I'm doing on these boards? Y'all Detroit, right? Come on, like y'all see me on these boards. Ben Wallace, like I'm not big, but you see me effort on these boards, right? Come on, this is work down here. You know what I mean? So it's just things like that. I just love how all these guys are committed to the process and committed to what JB is pushing. And you mentioned that even with Trajan Langdon, there seems to be a synergy now. There doesn't seem to be a disconnection. For a long time, people thought it was best to order the groceries and then go cook them too. You know what I mean? With this president coach thing, not only works for certain guys, but when you have the right guys, they can play in a dual role like that. Or they don't have to play in a dual role like that. You can have that connection still there. And that seems to be there with them. So just from top to bottom, bro, it just seems to really be organized structure now, as opposed to what we think this is going on. But no, I guess that makes sense. It all seems to make sense now. Yes. And they all seem to believe in it now. And I think that's the biggest difference.
Exactly. Especially seeing it through different situations. Like I said, they've been in situations where they've had a big lead and then they've had to deal with, bouncing back. Or they're down 20 and they got to find a way to scrape back. Or it's just nip and tuck the whole way. Or, we got a lead here and then, Charlotte, scoop something in, at the last second. How are we going to bounce back in the next game? Because if they had a hangover and get blew out by the Hawks, that would have been a little more discouraging.
Good point.
The fact that they were able to kind of, stay motivated and say, no, we learned from that. We're motivated to show that's not going to happen again. And so things like Cade Cunningham, where, again, he wasn't even in the closing possession against Charlotte. And now against Hawks game, I'm knocking down a left-handed floater over two guys, and I'm gonna come down and seal with a game-winning block.
Yeah.
We're seeing so many different things. I feel like a lot of questions are getting answered. Not all of them, but to me, a lot of the most important ones.
Yeah.
Can Cade and Ivy play together? What is JB gonna look like with his rotations? You know, what are we gonna see in terms of the front court balance? Are the veterans really gonna help?
Right.
We're seeing a lot of those answers already. So again, it's hard to not be encouraged. A lot of y'all been complaining on social media. Not everybody in the chat, but some of y'all been complaining.
Some of y'all in the chat too.
It should be a lot more optimism, man. Again, 4-6 with how they look right now. You got to be extremely encouraged about what you see with the Pistons.
And how the East looks right now.
Yes.
It's go time right now.
Wide open door. Yes.
Look, bro, nobody expected Cleveland to be 10-0.
No.
Nobody did, but they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody expected Boston to just take off and just continue from last season, right? Which they do look good, but nobody expected this from Cleveland.
Right, not at all.
You know what I mean? So, and if I watched a little bit of them, and I see the foundation that was built over there. I see Mike Jackson over there for Golden State. I see JB Bickerstaff over there. Because I just been watching how they play. It's like, oh, they're a little bit crisper with that. Oh, in comparison to us, I'm seeing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to see the impact that he had over there. And it gives me confidence that he can do it over here because he's done it and because of the personnel.
It's there. You got the personnel, you got the roster pieces, and they're doing exactly what you wanted to do. Like, again, you're seeing these roles be filled in from some of the most important guys. Some guys got to be better. Some things can be a little bit more consistent, but knowing that you've seen consistency from Cade, you've seen consistency with Ivy, you've seen steady growth from Ron Holland, you've seen the veterans be important and impactful in different spots. Like, those things are going to keep growing and showing over time. So, again, it's a lot of things that we're checking off the box already with this team, man.
Bro.
Really, really cool.
You know what also threw me off guard? Because I had forgotten about this, but the first time I saw him shoot the basketball,
Oh, boy.
I can't remember the last time, maybe Sean Marion, when I was like, oh, he actually can shoot. Like, no. Oh, all right, he can shoot. It's different, but all right. Like, the little hitch and his jump shot. But that thing go in, bro.
It do. It's different. I was watching him during the warm-ups, and I'm like, how does that happen, bro? It's like
bro.
But the Cade found him for a quarter three in the last game. He knocked it down. So, hey, keep it going.
Yeah, because you be up close, bro. You're literally right there.
Yeah.
Like, by the way, we're going to get to his handle so y'all can follow him later. But he's literally up close in person on the floor. So you're probably like, really?
I'm trying it in my head. I don't want to do it like I'm making fun of him, but I be trying.
No, it's all good. Look, he knocking it down. So
yeah, that's it. That's all that
yeah,
matters.
giving him credit for sure. Yeah, but I like what I've seen from him too, man. I like what he's shown so far. I would like to see him out of that pick and roll, right? Just look for the open man when he receives the ball, because he gets blitzed sometimes out of that when he rolls. He gets blitzed, and I just need him to make that pass a little bit quicker off the catch. Because there was a few times last night when I think Tobias was open and he missed him, or he found him, but it was a second too late, right? So just making that next move and not always looking for the shot, because he's talented, man. So that's probably a little push shot is probably easy for him. But just when he gets blitzed, just look for the other guy. I think that'll go a long way for him. But outside of that, man, like he's very athletic for his size, bro. Just the way he moves on the TV screen, you're up close and personal, but just the way he moves on the TV screen, bro, he just looks to be moving at like 1.25 speed on YouTube or something. Just a touch faster than most bigs would be moving, right? Yeah. So I'm excited about his potential. And what he showed us his last game, or the game before last, I think you got to find a way to get him more minutes. I don't know how, but he's impactful pretty much every time he comes to the game, and not in a negative way. He pretty much leaves a mark in some way when he's on the floor. So, like, what are your thoughts on him as far as with the big man rotation? We'll end it with that.
You're 100% right. He's way too talented of a scorer on a bench unit that needs some scoring. So
right.
I like the balance that he brings. He shows the ability to play catch and shoot basketball. You can give him the ball on the block. You can give it to him in the mid range, and he can, shake around and find him open look. But it is a little bit of a tough spot. I mean, it's good to be able to see that. Granted, I mean, we saw Monty Williams play all bench lineups, And now they're in a position where, okay, you may be talented, but we're trying to build some cohesion. So Marcus Sasser, it might not be your night. Paul Reed, the first few games, it might not be your night. But so I feel like a lot of those jitters, maybe not jitters, but some of those, inabilities to make those reads by Paul is probably his, the lack of minutes that he's gotten at this point to play with the other guys.
Okay.
But when he said, like you said, when he gets an opportunity, he makes an impact. I don't think he missed a shot against the Hornets.
Yeah.
So he's fantastic. I love watching him play. He's another veteran that a lot of the young guys, like being around and, having a conversation with. Yeah. And he's impactful, man. He's a very good player. It's going to be interesting to see how they balance out that, the three-headed monster of their bigs with Durant, Stu, and Paul. But they all have a lot of value that they kind of bring in their own separate ways.
I feel like it could just be matchup based. Sure. Depending on who the big man is off the bench or depending on who the starter is. If JD gets a foul trouble, you know what I mean? You may look to Stu more so in that situation just to be somebody to kind of shut the water off a little bit on that. You know what I mean? So, and if we need offense, it could be Paul Reed's night and he could have a 15-point night. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to depend on matchups. And I like having that versatility at the backup big spot. Because you can go to whatever you need to. It's not just next man up. Like, okay, this is who we got. This is who we're going with. You have an option based on the matchup to go with the guy you need to go with. So I like the versatility of this team, man. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I appreciate you coming on with me, man. It's been a very, very entertaining and enlightening conversation. It always is, my man, Eric. A few places we can find you, bro. But before we get to how we can find you, I just kind of want to show people what you kind of do a little bit here, bro. Oh, man. Want to get to your article here. So just want to show you guys here. This is one of his articles, right?
Yes, sir. This
is his latest one, talking about dropping knowledge per usual. I like the graphics. That's hilarious. That's probably something you did, I would imagine.
No. We got our graphic team. Shout out to them. That's all them.
Well, no, y'all go check him out, man. Definitely. I'll have his handles and his links and everything in this comment section. I'll have it pinned. So you guys can go check him out. But yeah, he's really, really good, man. His articles are great. I read all of them pretty much. Always a great read, very enlightening. What he's talking about here is what he's writing down there. So y'all go check him out, man. And any final words, anything else you wanna promote, bro?
No, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Listen, it's been a fun start so far. I mean, we was already in draft mode at this point last season. So to see, some good energy from the fan base. And, even if it's, the spirited debates of, what fits here, what doesn't, it's cool to see it with a purpose now instead of people already ready to hit the reset button. So I'm loving the energy. Everybody I've met at LCA, you guys have been fantastic. If you see me out there, be sure to come holler at me in the media section or whatnot. Follow me on social media at I am Eric Vincent on all my handles. I'm all over the place.
Yes, sir.
I love having a conversation on there. Follow me around on ClutchPoints as well. Check my workout. And whenever I can get on here, man, it's always a pleasure being on the stage with y'all, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man. Pleasure is ours. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you here, man. This always happens. Like as soon as we're gonna close, all the great questions or the perfect questions come out. I'm gonna say this for the next stream, bro. We're gonna get to this. What's going on with Bob? Well, yes, we're gonna get to him. We're gonna get to Clipman for sure. I have my own anxiety just waiting for him to come back after watching him in Summer League. But we'll say that one for next. I don't want to take up too much of Eric's time here. He's giving us a lot of his gracious time, so we appreciate you, bro. And we appreciate all you guys here, man. You guys are always showing up and showing out. Always great conversation. Anything I didn't get to or we didn't get to, drop it down in these comments. I will address it in the next video like I always do. And me and King will be on soon. But for tonight, man, once again, Eric, thank you for coming on, bro. And we are going to end it with that. So as y'all know, Detroit versus everybody. Peace.